Welcome back. This is the last live Final Five of 2024. So let's take a look back on the year that was and the year that will be with our friend Andrew Donaldson. He's the editor of Ordinary Times, and he's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Good to see you as always after the holidays.
Always good to see you, Jim. Appreciate your time.
Before we get into anything as to what we saw in 2024, I just want to get your take. You and I both were born during the Carter administration, but we were too young to really remember much about the policies. But man, we've learned a lot about the man through the years.
Yeah, we have. Unfortunately, I am still going to be younger than you, no matter what happens.
Just by
forward.
7 days.
Yeah, this is not horseshoes or hand grenades, Lokay. It still counts. Sorry, it's just the way it is. But no, Carter's an amazing figure in American history. Not just his presidency. It's really funny. He had such a long, because of the one-term presidency, really the presidency is like the fourth or fifth thing down on the list when you start talking to him. And of course, one of the interesting things I found about him is the only submariner now. He was part of a cohort of Navy guys. Of course, his predecessor, Ford, Kennedy, famously, George H.W. Bush, they were all Navy guys, but he's the only Navy Academy graduate and the only submariner. And of course, we sent him up to Canada to save Canada from a nuclear incident. So there's a lot of interesting things about Jimmy Carter outside of just the White House run.
And you mentioned that it's fascinating because we just went through this presidential election cycle, and what a different time it was, where military service was such a prerequisite in the past for being the commander-in-chief. Now it's something we don't really talk about, but it is fascinating just to look back on that sort of service. All right, so here we are. We are on the cusp of a new year, cusp of a new president who looks a lot like the old president. But I'm curious, as you look beyond the election, what do you take away from 2024?
Oh, what a crazy year. I think this is the year where we really started to see the new media take hold. Now, we've gotten some Pew data on this. People are kind of in a rut in how they consume news media and information in general, especially on social media and streaming and things like this. So in the Trump era, basically the last 8, 9, 10 years, people are kind of in a rut in how they do it. They've decided how to get their information. I think this is the year it kind of finally caught up to a lot of people of like, whatever used to be news media and information, that's gone now, and everything's a la carte. People are getting what they want. They're only listening to what they want, and there's not a whole lot we can do advertising or otherwise to get around that. People are just going to have to adjust to it. So I think going forward, especially as we go into a second Trump term, people are going to have to come to terms with this. That like, look, people, cohorts, demographics, coalitions, they're going to get what they want to hear. They're not going to listen to a lot of what they don't want to hear, and that's going to be a major adjustment, not only in media, but in us media consumers as well. There
was a lot of talk about President-elect Trump going into certain podcasts, going on Joe Rogan, for example, and the question was, would it have served Democrats better to go into some of those environments where you wouldn't necessarily expect to get progressive audiences and catch progressive ears. That said, the likes of Pete Buttigieg, he goes on Fox News. He was a very effective spokesman, at least by some metrics, when he goes on Fox News and talks to that audience. So is there value, if you're looking in the podcasting realm, of like a Kamala Harris going on, or whoever the standard bearer might be, going on some of these other shows?
Well, somebody like Rogan's a good example, though, because they had Rogan. He was kind of a leftist. He was pretty progressive in a lot of his views. He's changed a lot from when he first started. That's something you can, kind of break down later on. Somebody like a Pete Buttigieg, though, that's kind of the traditional. He's really good at media. He's very good on camera. He can answer questions. He's sharp. He's quick-witted. But you said effective. Well, how effective is he? He's really good on media hits, but is he changing hearts and minds? I think that's the dichotomy shift. People that listen to Rogan, they're looking for a certain thing, and they're going to get it. Somebody that hears Pete Buttigieg, no matter how smooth he is, even if he goes on, hostile territory, for lack of a better term, is he really changing people's minds because they're conditioned to the media they want? That's the change, and that's the thing that I think we should really pay a lot of attention to. Effectiveness may be a definition we need to change a little bit.
So the last couple of days, I've tried to minimize my intake of news over the last week during the holiday, but it was kind of tough to get away. There was a lot of infighting online between people, a lot of the supporters of President-elect Trump over comments about immigration made by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk about bringing in skilled workers. And people are saying, wait a second, does this mean that President-elect Trump is betraying the America First agenda? But look, there's always talk about infighting. We're going to go into a week where there's going to be a speaker election later on this week. And then obviously January 20th rolls around here. Do we focus too much on that? Or is it a united front? These are just sort of the growing pains.
No, this is actually really interesting because there's two different kinds of coalitions. There's the electoral coalition that gets you elected into office. Trump obviously put one of those together and won the office. But then you have to have a governing coalition. And one of the things that's going to play out now is, remember, for all the fanfare, for all the noise, Donald Trump is a lame duck president, so we're going to have to watch and see if his coalition can stay together. These are kind of the first little bit of cracks on it, because a lot of people got underneath the Donald Trump banner under the we're going to get power, we're going to win, we're going to beat the left, we're going to beat the Democrats. That's all well and good, but now you're in power, and that power's got an end date because Trump is term limited. So this is going to be some cracks to watch, because as you go forward and once you get past this first little bit of legislative, whatever they're going to get done, which we know you usually get one shot at it and then it kind of bogs down. Watch for these cracks to really form, and we're going to see what the Republican Party looks like going forward into the midterms.
Let me ask you, this is the last question. It's a burning question right now that I think a lot of people, I'm shocked at how controversial this can be. Do we need to get rid of daylight standard time? Should we just go to daylight saving time?
We need to pick something and go with it. But the problem is we have 4 time zone country, you know, when you can on Alaska and other places. Just pick something. I like to have my sunrises and sunsets. Please don't take those away from me. But yeah, I think it's something we're debating that's kind of fun, and it's something that we debate in this time of the year when there's not a lot going on. First of the year, I think it might be like the Jersey drone story. Once we get busy with real stuff, we may not talk about it quite as much.
I forgot all about that. Andrew Donaldson,
because people got busy.
Happy New Year. Good to see you as always. Here's to a happy, healthy 2025, and we'll see you again soon on the show.
Anytime, sir. Appreciate you.
And the Final Five is back after this.